Now, in many states in the US this November, the presidential candidate who snags the winner's share of electoral votes is unlikely to be a surprise. Across 7 swing states, stretching from the desert southwest to the upper Midwest and back down in the south, the outcome remains very much in play, and the 93 votes up for grabs are likely to decide who ultimately ends up in the White House come January. That's the case even after a historic reset of the race. In case you need clarity, a swing state, according to a by-the-book definition, is one that's considered to play a key role in the outcome of presidential elections and where candidates of both the Democratic and Republican parties have similar levels of support. If you want to know where both sides think the 2024 election is going to be won or lost, look at where they're aiming their campaign planes and, perhaps more importantly, their checkbooks. The Democrats gained the presidency in 2020 in Arizona with the support of the Grand Canyon state, which narrowly voted to back their party's candidate for the first time since the 1990s. Arizona, as you know, borders Mexico for hundreds of miles and has become a focal point of the nation's immigration debate. Border crossings have fallen in recent months from record highs, which have made the issue near the top of voters' concerns. But Trump has repeatedly attacked Kamala Harris's record on immigration, though, because she was given a role by Joe Biden in trying to ease the border crisis. He has also vowed to carry out the largest deportation operation in US history if he regains the presidency. Arizona, by the way, has also hosted a bitter row over abortion access after state Republicans attempted to reinstate a 160-year-old near-total ban on terminating pregnancies, but were foiled. The issue has become an explosive one nationwide in the US since 2022, when the US Supreme Court overturned a landmark ruling that gave women the constitutional right to abortion. In Georgia, alleged election interference has landed Trump in one of his 4 criminal prosecutions. Remember, Trump has been convicted in one case, while the remaining are ongoing. So Trump and 18 others are accused of conspiring to overturn his narrow defeat to Biden in this state. But Trump, in classic Trump style, denies any wrongdoing, and the case looks increasingly unlikely to be heard in court before the November election. But you must note that a third of Georgia's population is African American, one of the country's largest proportions of black residents, and it is believed that this demographic was instrumental in Biden flipping the state in 2020. Now, some disillusionment with Mr. Biden had been reported among America's black voters, but the Harris campaign hopes to animate this constituency. On to Michigan, a state that's been a major player in the last 2 presidential elections in the US. Despite supporting Biden in 2020, Michigan has become a focal point in the debate over US support for Israel amid the ongoing war in Gaza. In Michigan's Democratic primary this past February, over 1 lakh voters chose the uncommitted option, reflecting a push by activists who want the US to stop its military aid to Israel. Now, this is especially significant because Michigan has the largest Arab American population in the country, and their support for Biden has been wavering. But Kamala Harris has taken a firmer stand on Israel, and some Gaza protesters are a little hopeful she might be more sympathetic to their cause. Meanwhile, Trump has spotlighted Michigan in his election strategy. And on to the silver state that has voted Democrats for the last several elections. There are signs in Nevada of a possible turnaround by the Republicans. In fact, recent averages published by poll tracking firm 538 indicate that polls once showed Trump enjoying a wide lead over Joe Biden, but that advantage has shrunk since Kamala Harris became the top of the Democratic ticket. Democrats had hoped a candidate with greater appeal to younger and more diverse voters would close the gap, but both candidates are vying to win the state's sizable Latino population. Despite the fact that the US economy has shown strong growth and jobs creation since Biden took the presidency, the post-COVID recovery has actually been slower here than anywhere else in the US. So at 5.1%, the state has the highest unemployment rate in the US after California and the District of Columbia, according to the latest US government statistics. Turning to North Carolina, where the political landscape is getting more competitive as we speak, some analysts are now calling it a toss-up. This shift may explain why Trump chose North Carolina for his first outdoor rally since the assassination attempt on him in July. In fact, addressing his supporters, Trump emphasized the importance of the state, saying this state is a very, very big state to win. On the Democratic side, though, the party spotlighted North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper on the final night of their convention, underscoring the state's significance. You must also note that North Carolina shares some key electoral concerns with neighboring Georgia and Arizona, other critical Sun Belt states in the US. Trump, by the way, won North Carolina by just over 70,000 votes back in 2020, fueling Democratic hopes that this purple state, which can swing either way, might be up for grabs this election year. Next up, let's talk about Pennsylvania, where both parties campaigning with great gusto. In fact, the state became a key battleground in the 2020 election, swinging to support Joe Biden, who has a personal connection to the working-class city of Scranton, where he grew up. Inflation is a top concern here, as it is across the United States, but prices spiked under the Biden administration, though they have started to come down, but only now. However, in Pennsylvania, grocery prices have surged faster than in any other state in the US. In fact, in certain areas, many residents are grappling with food insecurity. About 1 in 8 people there are struggling to get enough to eat. Now, this economic pressure is affecting voter perceptions of the current administration, with high inflation potentially weighing heavily on Kamala Harris's campaign. Trump has seized on this, aiming to tie Harris to the economic issues and inflation under Biden. Now, let's turn to Wisconsin, a state that has been crucial in recent presidential elections, picking the winner in both 2016 as well as 2020 by just over 20,000 votes each time. In battlegrounds like Wisconsin, third-party candidates can have a big impact. The Democrats are working hard to keep Green Party candidate Jill Stein off the ballot, arguing that her party didn't follow state election laws, and they've also filed a complaint against left-leaning academic Cornel West. Trump, meanwhile, has emphasized Wisconsin's importance, stating that if they win Wisconsin, they win the whole thing. The summer Republican National Convention, as we extensively covered, was also held in Milwaukee, highlighting the state's key role. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris made a virtual appearance in Milwaukee during her party's convention, marking her official nomination as the Democratic presidential candidate.